Alrighty, it is week 13, the beginning of week 14, and it was great for me. I had several of you come see me today, and it was really great because when you come to see me, then it gives me a chance to realize maybe places that haven't been covered as well as they could have, or just more coverage of topics to make sure that we're there. So this video is going to be, well, I'm going to have a one, hopefully maybe two, to actually go over the work for this week. But in this week, and I can't even remember who it was, but somebody I noticed is in their class notes every time taking notes on these weekly videos. So if you haven't been doing it, this is the week I need you to do it, or I'm saying this is part of the required. So for week 14 lecture, which will be continuing the lynda.com stuff. Then I think we're on the third. So we have 2 more weeks on the bootstrap, which means we're going to spend 2 more weeks giving you a good head start on Project Zero. We will do that. But before we get there, I really need to make clear something that I saw several people get confused by. Okay? So in the beginning, when we were creating basic HTML, we were uploading them into Drive and then using a little mechanism that Drive allowed us to do to reference the document that allowed us to look at it as a web page. Okay, so we were basically just doing a upload, but we weren't doing it, well, anyway, we were just doing an upload into Google Drive. And that was in the beginning, right? And so the second thing we did was we did Git. Okay, so let me show you an image. So here is, the typical Git process. So we had working directories where you created your repositories. We had staging areas, and then that local repo where we would make commits into them. And then we did a push up to the remote repo, which was on GitHub. Now we haven't done this part where we do a push, right? So we did a push. Well, that's a pull, I thought, right there, but I think that might be labeled incorrectly. But anyway, these commands we haven't done yet, right? So Git, when we published it all the way to the remote server in the Git website, that was the idea of staging, was the idea of version control. Okay, and at the same time we were adding to our ideas of how to put stuff out to make it viewable from the web, right, into adding it to the remote site. Now what we haven't done with Git, and I've been really trying to figure out how much, because I really saw quite a few people with really wrapping their heads around Git kind of go, maybe it's, if we just introduce you to Git, that's going to be great. If this is something that you already feel comfortable with, then I would say continue doing Git with all the other work that we're doing. But I haven't been requiring it. And today when Sarah came in, which I hope you don't mind me saying, Sarah, we had a great talk about this, and it really was clarifying for me to understand that. And I had this talk with somebody else about getting confused between what Git does with version control and then what Git push does with moving to a remote server versus what FTP does. Okay, so when we're talking about FTP, we're really just talking about moving files from your computer, uploading them into a remote computer, and in this case a server that I've given you some space on. Okay, in this environment we are not doing any version control. Now we did see that you could do FTP at the command line, which then made it probably, for those of you that may have seen that, even a little more confusing about the differences between what we're doing with Git and what we're doing with FTP. Okay, so in your notes I want you to then draw a distinction, as I am here, between the 3 different ways we've done it, right? So we've done file, just a straight file transfer, really a file upload to Google Drive to host web pages, HTML and CSS with the beginning HTML lectures from Lynda. We've done it through Git, which pushing them to the Git server. Now on the Git server, as I said before, the thing we haven't done is made that a hosting option, and for some reason I keep putting it off, and I'm not sure why, but let me just tell you that all you have to do is, and it's called Matter of fact, I think I have one. Yeah. So you create a repo with your username on Git, right? And then you upload to that repo, and then and I did this over the summer, so excuse what you're about to see. But then whatever you put on that repo, you can then change the reference to make it a hosted site. Okay? So that concept of now, so that's the other way we've shown you how to put stuff on a server, right? But again, we just added now with Git the ability to do it from a host, do it to actually reflect a host, a server, so that you can serve those pages up. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're doing it the third way is the FTP, where we're having you take files from local, put it up on a server, right? And that process using FTP to place it up there, right? So, and we were talking about this today, and Sarah was like, well, shouldn't I be doing the git adds and git commits on everything I'm doing? And my answer would be, yes, I'd love to see you do that, but I feel like I would be placing too much on students that have just a beginning introduction here to have them do all that. So I haven't required it, but I would tell you that as you continue this path, if you take 85 next semester, which I'm highly recommending, I'm fairly sure, uh, and I know this is something I would talk to Todd about if he wasn't, but I'm pretty sure he would continue requiring use of Git. And I know if you take my JavaScript a year from now, for sure you'll be using Git and that workflow process for that. So the more you use it, the more you're going to get used to it, the more you'll become accustomed to it. But if it's too much for now, just know that the FTP is another way or a quicker way. But I know that also threw some people off as well, as far as, we've made kind of these big jumps in that. So I wanted to, so again, have this in your notes. I just wanted to hopefully clarify that. And on this video, I also want to talk about Project Zero, and then there'll be a different video that will be for, if I can get through it, for both the current topics and the hands-on. So today I spent a little time looking at Project Zero and really thinking about it a little more. So I've updated the date. It's still in draft mode. I still may add some things to it, but it won't be a major difference between what you end up with here. And I rewrote it in a way that may or may not be helpful. So this is no surprise, the 25 topics you select, right? Place them into 4 or 5 categories, and that's what we've begun with, already laying out graphically. Everyone that attempted this, I think it was a good exercise, and I would tell you it's time to reform that, or continue that process of forming that and clarifying it. Okay, so in that process, actually this whole thing, that this 60 points, and that was the other thing you asked for, was point value. It applies to this whole set of items, so I should clarify that. But each topic then becomes a page on your website for a total of 26, because then you have the index page, the 25 topics, right? And they will be organized into the 4 or 5 categories, and that's what we're going to actually do this week. And you'll see this in the following lecture. And then each page, so then I've clarified the page. So each page needs to have a copy of the content that you select from Canvas, our Canvas site, and an associated image. Now we are going to be talking about images this week as well and how to deal with them. Right? So each page has to have a copy of your content from your selected item. If it's going to be a whole lecture, you don't have to put on the whole lecture, but just some of it. If it was your reply to some post, then you would have that up there. Okay, and then each page, and this one I have a question on it whether I'm going to require it, but I think it's good because when you're using, let me just say what it is, right? So have at least 2 columns, right? And every template that I've seen that we've worked with, either the clean one, which I'll show you in the hands-on, I took the one I had chosen and I made it with 2 columns. This is not the result of that, but also, do I have it still up? The one from the end of the Bootstrap one has an example of 2 columns, right? So And the reason I was doing this, I was thinking it would be good to have one with an image and then one with your content. But I'm not going to hold to this real firm because if you have a way you've already thought of laying this out, then that's good as well, right? So you have to figure out because each page is going to require an image that you how you lay that image and your content in there, and then each page needs to have a unique title. Right, and we'll cover that in a little bit. So, and then the 200 words is really for your original content of your index page, right? So this will be kind of the overview, not kind of, but the overview of, how you approach this, what you were, whatever you feel would help blend your site together. And then I've thought about this and that each of these menu items does need some original content to kind of tie everything together. And this we'll be talking about more this week and next about how to flow these things in. And now this one is one we've already been talking about, right? So, and you can see the point value on this one. Remember that 60 applies to these. And then use a current version of Bootstrap template or the ending site on week 15 lynda.com lecture, right? And I wasn't sure how to give this a point value because I mean, you're going to have to use something, and I'll talk about other things you could do here, right? But and, I mean, you can do it totally from scratch. So I'm almost like, well, I don't even want to do a point value. So this one's a little in question in my mind. And then you upload it to the server space or GitHub pages, like I kind of briefly talked about today, Google Drive, right? But I really think most of you actually are probably going to do this, right? But you could do this. We haven't done it. And really the reason I think this is probably because we're going to cover it in a couple more weeks. And I think it is just good to have this experience because I think in the other classes you're going to have, they're not going to do this kind of FTP. Again, we'll probably be doing Git and remote pushes. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should focus on it here. So anyway, so that's the idea is I want to give you like, here's where we're at, right? Coming into week 14. And so we'll have 15, 16, and 17. So we really have 3 weeks after, well, 14, 15, 16, and 17. 4 weeks. So you really should be digging in to this project zero. And if you're waiting, the longer you wait, the more challenging it's going to be because then you're going to be stressed. So that's why I've been trying to give this like, let's just work on it. Let's actually do this. But remember, after we finish Bootstrap, which is 2 more weeks from now, you're going to see me decreasing the amount of stuff we're going to be focused on project zero because by that time, and I will probably have one last, like, what else do you need to do project zero? Current discussion. That'll probably be after that 2 weeks, and then I'll be okay. You should be working on this, and then it'll be due right at the end. Okay, so I think that's probably enough for this one. Again, I'll hopefully do one, maybe two more. Hopefully, I can get through it all in one, and to do the hands-on and the current topics. And was there anything else I wanted to say? I can't think about it right, or it's not coming to me at this point. So again, it's great to come see me. If you're having any challenges, just give me a heads up. Normally I'm not here on Friday, but if you tell me, hey, that's the day I'm going to be there, then if I can, I will make myself available because that's my job. Even though Friday I have a virtual office hour, but I do have office hours during the week as well. So check those out and make sure you're coming to see me when you need some additional help. All right, so check out the videos for the next round to look at what's required this week. All right, see you later.